The main goals of the grant were, number one, to create and produce 4 CTE professional development events in the Northern California region, and number two, to administrate several grants in the same region to increase the capacity of high schools in the local area to teach manufacturing and arts, media, and entertainment. We really enjoyed the work, and the very tight time schedule made it quite interesting. So let's begin with the professional development event. So the first was held here at our library room in Tehama County Department of Education in Red Bluff. It's not really a library at all. It's just a giant conference room, but we call it the library because this is an old education building. It's a wonderful place for a conference, and Dr. Tabakian was speaking on how to help industry partner with schools for mentorships.
As a student again, okay, you are, actually we're going to go over the assignment, and the person who actually goes over the assignment is in many cases the instructor. So, for example, West Cal is invited to, and you'll see some examples in this one, West Cal may be invited by a physics instructor to come and talk about areas of in the sciences. We always talk about STEAM now, and so they would say, can you bring in an industry professional in the sciences, someone cool? So we would do that in a mega career pathway program. So you would see it in phase 1, and for example, for a political version, we utilize Delane Easton. So how about for something in the sciences? So we'd go in, make a presentation, workshop, big auditorium, small classroom, doesn't matter. And then the students would say, hey, I want to do this assignment. It's cool. All right. Well, we'll send the information to the student, but in many cases, actually in pretty much all cases, we were invited to the college or the high school, and at Belmont, we even did a middle school one time. We're invited by the instructor. So people ask, how do we get into the schools? It's not through administration. It's through the professor. Or, I call every teacher a professor. It's just the way I am. So a professor would say, hey, I want you to come and bring your program into my classroom to talk. I mean, I like academic freedom, and so what's cool is that, the instructor would say, hey, I want to bring someone from industry. I'm going to reach out to JP or Joseph or Randy or Ron. Can you come and bring someone into our program? So we would say, sure. So in many cases, we've conducted programs at institutions without an administration ever knowing about it. So we grow on people like mold, very slowly. Right? So an example would be El Camino College, which is in Torrance. We never had any formal agreement with El Camino College District because instructors would be inviting us to conduct presentations. Same thing with Cal State Fullerton. By the time when administration finds out about it, it's because they start finding out that, some of their students are getting really cool jobs out in their field, and they start asking, how did that actually happen? So in many cases, our career pathway assignment is laid out for the students by the professor, not by West Cal Academy. So we provide the curriculum to the professor, who then adopts that curriculum or that assignment as part of their standard curriculum in many cases. They may want to do the career pathway assignment as a required course assignment. And then West Cal would be invited to do mega presentation 1, and not saying that the student is forced to do this assignment, but it is required for the student to do it in some classes. So we're going to do it in that fashion. So basically in this packet, your task is to interview an industry professional. Okay? Now before we go into that part, it's important, and Ron is right, autonomy is very important. We want students to take charge of their own life. Do what seems, they should do what's cool for them. That's why people drop out of school sometimes. They're just bored. So we would actually, ask them, or the professor would ask the student, who do you want to interview? And they say, I can't, this person would never allow me to interview them. And we say, BS. And hey, Evan crushed it, that's good.
Start.
That's a first. Hey, first presentation, I'm clean. So we say, that's a bunch of malarkey. Who do you want to interview? Well, I want to go into Congress. I want to do something cool. I like Maxine Waters. You do? Yeah, but she'll never allow me to interview her. I'm like, really? Okay, you like Maxine Waters. Well, we call her Taxine. So Taxine Waters, I'm friends with Maxine, it's okay. She has nicknames for me too. I'm not going to tell you now. I'm on live mic and stuff. I'll tell you privately. I've known her a long time. So I would say, well, let me try and arrange that with you. I know her chief of staff. I know Blanca. Let's kind of have a conversation. And in many cases, I can arrange either Skype interview with Representative Waters or an in-person interview with her where she'll spend 45 minutes to an hour with the student. Now that's pretty cool. Now, if the student doesn't know the person directly, and if we have a personal relationship, West Cal can help make that connection. So we like to equate that with rich kid, poor kid syndrome. Rich kid's family, they have contacts. So maybe the kid wants to get in and become a doctor, and maybe the father is a businessman. And maybe at their club, he knows a doctor. And he's able to talk to his buddy and say, hey, can you give my kid the time of day? Maybe talk with him a little bit, give him some type of small job at your clinic or something, just so you can give him some, instruction. Poor kids don't have that access. Well, they do, but they don't see it, right? So what West Cal does, we treat every student as a rich kid. We are their personal board of directors. We advise that student how they should do things. Now, of course, we can only provide advisement. At the end of the day, it's the student's call. Still wants to stay home and play Nintendo, well, there's nothing more you can do about it. We know someone like that, but that student plays PS4 all day long, and he has problems. But that's okay. He'll come back. So, or the student may say, for example, I want to be in politics. This is why we talk with them. I want to be in politics, but I don't want to run for office. I want to be behind the scenes. Now, for sure, the student most likely doesn't know a single damn person who works behind the scenes in politics. They don't know. They go, I like Maxine Waters, but I want to be the person behind the scenes who actually makes stuff happen. And I go, that's Hamilton Cloud. Who's Hamilton Cloud? We call him her assassin. That's actually a nice term. So Hamilton, very unusual career. Hamilton used to actually created the NAACP Movie Awards. He's been in Hollywood media, and he was recruited by Representative Waters to be head of special programs for her. So I would talk with the student, and the student would say, I want to be behind the scenes, but I like the arts, or I like media. We can kind of make those connections and say, hey, you know what, let's connect you with Hamilton Cloud. Now, Hamilton has been interviewed by West Cal Academy students over 12 times. And we're talking over an hour apiece, and mentors about a dozen students under that program. So students will interview an industry professional, someone cool. And we tell students, it is better for you to interview someone that you do not personally know. Get out of your comfort zone. Use this opportunity to meet someone you've always wanted to meet.
Next up was a genuine star of the manufacturing world, Titan Gilroy of Titans of CNC. Came to present on his new CNC manufacturing platform, education platform, where he has uploaded just hours and hours and hours of wonderful CTE training for people working in the CNC space, and also to tell us about his new CNC 3D modeling program that he's making available free to anybody who wants to use it for educational purposes in particular. And he not only just told us about it, he actually gave us a how-to training, which was wonderful. So Titan Gilroy came, visited with us on April 17th, 2018 at Tehama County Department of Education in Red Bluff, California. Again, same place we had the last one at. He had his whole team, including his son, told us a bit about his life, and that was really wonderful, from his hard times in prison and his life as a mixed martial arts fighter, and all the way through his great successes as a CNC manufacturer and the head of a very successful company, but also the bad times that happened in that company, including the times that they went through the recession. He really just gave us an idea of what it meant to be a human being working in manufacturing, and that was not just what I mean by him being a human being in the sense that what it means to go through the ups and downs, but what it means to try to be a professional in those situations and work with excellence and to inspire others to do the same. And I think that was a valuable lesson that all of our educators took home with them. So here's a little clip from Titan on his presentation.
My son's running from the front. How you doing, man? You grab a chair. Grab a chair. Anyway, thank you very much. Before I start, I want to just introduce a video. So some of you guys might have seen this video, but I want to just tell you a little bit about where it comes from. The video comes from having gone through manufacturing, having and been at the top and tasting the bottom and really like dedicating myself to bringing awareness and education, to traveling and going to the biggest schools across the country. And although teachers are heroes, I really saw flaws in the system. And it wasn't flaws. Come on, Brett, we know each other. Enough. But I saw flaws in the system, and it wasn't the teacher's fault. It was literally because they just didn't have the proper resources, the proper funding, and people coming behind them to lift them up, to help them be successful. So with that on my mind, on a chance day, the state of California came through my door at my CNC shop and asked me for help because they had a prison machine shop that was close to 100 years old that was sitting in chains and dust, and nothing was happening. And they put millions and millions of dollars, yet nobody could get a job. And it just clicked to myself, like, I'm not in the business of building schools, but here's an opportunity to actually build a school on national television to inspire teachers to point at a template that they can actually copy, and then build a curriculum to put it online for free to basically make a huge change, right? So here is a 5-6 minute video that just takes you on that journey of what we did. And at the end, you literally have guys who have never been on a computer before, don't know what the internet is, actually machining their own parts, designing, programming, and machining multiple parts in just a matter of weeks. So go ahead and check this out. So you sent in a letter and you made the first cut. You been in there for a while?
Since I was 20.
Took a man's life drunk in an alley.
Get an altercation with a gentleman one night who threatened to shoot me and shoot my mother and came over my house. It resulted in me shooting him.
I learned these skills so when I get out, I could use them.
I got kids out there I gotta try to take care of.
Were you nervous coming in here?
Very.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want it?
I do. That's what I'm doing today. I believe in myself.
You see yourself changing your life and see yourself walking the walk. Can you visualize yourself as that guy?
All the time. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. I mean, you did it.
For the first time, what I did in the past can now be used for good.
Most
guys who had that type of experience, no one ever wants to come back.
To be successful, they need to learn a trade, go out, get a job, and keep that job.
We have a machine shop that's not even being used right now.
CNC machining saved my life. And all I want to do is help them get the same second chance that I did. We have to create a program to make you valuable so you can walk out and get a good paying job.
Now we're looking at the shop trying to decide what should we do.
Don's gone.
Hayden is an expert in CNC machining. I'm an expert in remodeling, and we're going to make this brand new machine shop come alive.
We're going to get rid of the old machines. We're going to bring the best technology available. And we're going to build an elite manufacturing facility right inside the prison. Education is my passion. I get to speak at different schools, conventions all across the nation. I get to go to all these amazing companies. I actually run a job shop where we're making the most difficult parts imaginable. My entire life experience has brought me to this point. Titans of CNC Academy. We're lacking industrial schools, we're lacking teachers, we're lacking curriculum. So that is the vision. It's not just about building a school and saying clean. It's about using the entire foundation to inspire a nation. All you have to do is listen to me and do what I tell you to do in the video, and you will know how to run these machines.
You know, I'm a good man. I got a lot to offer.
Designed it, machined it.
So then I'm just gonna go ahead and load the machine.
And now you're holding it in your hand.
This is the finished product right here.
I've only been here for about a month and a half. 6 weeks. That's awesome.
For 20 years, I haven't seen this type of hope.
I consider myself lucky if I'm given an opportunity to get out.
It's just on you whether you choose to change or you don't, you know?
That's what rehabilitation is about.
We would create a school right in front of the world so they could learn from it and copy the template.
It won't be talking about my past, we're talking about my future.
Each and every one of us can see ourselves walking in footsteps like Titan. I consider him a friend, and this is somebody that's coming in and really wants to show how much he wants to help.
He always reminds us that if I can make it, you can make it. And it clicked like, yeah, of course I can do it too.
Me, I never really talked to white boys before I came in this prison. So when I started engaging with him, he was like, put his arm around me, shook hands and all that stuff there. It was like, man, this is a dude from the outside.
I see the person, you know, a very good person.
So when he did that, it was I felt like I was worth something. It was like the best thing that could happen.
He can relate to what it feels like when, times people die, and you're not there for your family, and you feel like a loser. And I know that he can relate to that.
We do have a lot to offer if someone is willing to believe in us, and that gives us the tool to kind of believe in ourselves.
Somebody like me.
there and actually speaking about the curriculum in the detail that we're going to today is actually a first for me. And I'm excited at the opportunity. So I just want to set a couple ground rules. And first thing is that let's just be completely down to earth. Let's like have a good communication. If you guys have a question, no matter where I am in the day, please ask it. And don't leave here thinking, oh, I should have asked that question. I should have got that information. All right, so the school was tremendous. You know, coming into the school, you know, after having all the experience that I had, I kind of realized, like, I kind of was shocked by something. And that is that we are the greatest country in the entire world. We have more resources than anybody else, and yet our teachers don't have CNC machining resources. There is no national curriculum that is completely advanced that is actually given to our CNC teachers. And that is a problem when you are a country that is built on manufacturing products. So when I realized that, that's when I really stepped out to actually say, you know what, I've had this crazy life, and like, this is something important that I can be a part of, that my team can be a part of, and we have a shop right here. There's this huge like valley right here, and nobody's ever stepped in it. Nobody's doing anything there. All these teachers basically have to figure it out on their own. And if they are talented, then the students will thrive. If they worked 20 years ago and just have a heart for the industry, then the students might not thrive because they're not getting the technology dished out to them the way that it could be if that person had experience in the real world today.
Takes it to the next level, doesn't he? But Titan Academy was not all that he had for us. I mentioned previously the valuable tools that were in the Titan Academy, but also if you're going to do 3D modeling, you have to have some sort of program to do it on. And many of them are very, very proprietary and difficult to work with, but Titan has made his own 3D modeling program available to people who are learning, and it is based on some of the most widely used ones in the industry. And so I'd like to give you a second clip here where you see Titan telling us how exactly to use this 3D modeling program. And I can't underscore enough how important or how amazing it is that Titan not only knows how to run a business that works with 3D modeling and CNC manufacturing at the very highest levels, including NASA and all the other JPL space companies, SpaceX, but that he actually knows how to do this stuff himself. And not only can he do this stuff, but he can show you how, which means he really understands as an educator what it means to be competent and proficient in these technologies in a way that is helpful in the employment landscape. And that really comes through in this next clip, so I'll give you over.
And like, oh, can you do this? Oh, you're done? No, let's add this, let's add that, let's add this. And we've been having a blast making these parts and stuff. But I just wanted to go through and actually do a little explaining. So, actually, oh, there's Jacob again. So everything is, so this is our website. It's academy.titans of CNC. Basically, every month that goes by, it gets a little bit better, a little bit quicker, and we just keep putting content, keep R&D, keep making things better and figuring things out. And as people and teachers make parts and give us, their say on what they liked and didn't like, we're not being like, hey, too bad, that's how we did it. We're just tweaking. If we believe in what they said, we're actually just constantly tweaking to make it better and better and better and stuff. So that's the Academy online. It's free for everyone. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier, is basically, the system, right? So every operation, there's the Titan Trilogy, as we call it, where you actually learn how to design the part. You actually design the part, then you program the part, and then you actually CNC machine the part and hold it in your hand. and basically go through the steps. Each one has a video that teaches you step by step exactly what you need to do. When it comes to the CNC, we actually we step forward, and we don't teach every video how to stone your table and every video how to indicate your part, but as you go, it'll tell you you have a checklist that says, you know, make sure that your vise is on, indicate your vise, stone your table, do all the different things, and you just go through and check everything. But at least once, we actually show you how to put your stop on, and we have videos to support everything, and we put it in order. All right, so videos, so whether you're a teacher that knows machining, you got a little bit of experience or a lot of experience, there's no way that you can go wrong, because if you follow the video, and you can basically make any part. When somebody was talking about SolidWorks, I have SolidWorks. I spent a lot of money on SolidWorks. I have Mastercam. I have a lot of different softwares at my company. I actually don't use them anymore, just because I made friends with Autodesk, and this guy Carl Bass was like, why are you using SolidWorks? We're an American company, like we're doing this and we're giving it free education, and these are our plans, and these are the companies we bought, and this is how we're taking over the industry. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And if it wasn't for him and it wasn't for Autodesk, I wouldn't be sitting right here, because there's no way that I could have 35,000 students actually machining parts mostly for free, because they would have to go buy these packages and pay huge money. Prices are coming down because Autodesk came in and disrupted the market. So as Fusion 360, which I chose to teach in, is advancing and getting quicker, it just allows me to hit a massive amount of people at the same time. And it's the only reason that the Academy is alive. If we didn't have Fusion or Inventor, I basically would just be machining parts for SpaceX and maybe still making a show, I'm not sure, you know what I mean? But it gives us the platform. When you go into a video, there's something something we've done is to the right. So anybody, you can be on your phones, you can go into the video, and then to the right, maybe not on your phones, but to the right is related files. And basically everything that you need to be successful in actually machining that part or designing that part or programming that part is actually going to be here, and you simply can click it and download it.
Is there a way to know if your 2D sketches are fully constrained on there?
You can tell by the color. The lines will turn black whenever it's fully constrained.
So, let me just say something, so that answered that question, right? Yeah. So what Billy's doing right now is that he has a radius in that corner right there, and it's probably like a 187 or 190, right? 195. So all he did was click each corner and then put 195, and then it automatically just changed all of them at the same time. So.
And I find most of the time that adding fillets and stuff to sketches can be problematic down the line if you make adjustments or anything. So I choose to do it in the solid environment, because they'll adapt easier.
Yeah.
If you highlight the inside and outside radius is the same, should be specified.
Yeah.
You pick the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. So do me a favor. Do just just do those two. Leave the other ones alone. Are you gonna
do the bottom?
Yeah, the bottom's fine. So he's gonna put a 10,000 chamfer all the way around, but then on the bottom step that's ½ inch, he left that sharp. So there's the part. That's the part. That's designed exactly how we would do it. Again, there is a print with 3 different prints that take you step by step through the process. There's a video that tells you exactly how to do it, and then to program it. Now, like this one, you got to really pay attention, okay? Like the programming, because programming, not a lot of people really understand it, and you got to catch how easy it is. so that you have the confidence to go in there and do it. Okay, so Billy in the upper left, he's in model. All he's going to do is click that. He's going to drop down to cam. Boom. Okay. Now he can go and program. So what's the first thing we do? The first thing we do is we want to set up our material to show our stock, because the system understands your material and it will go and get rid of the material. If the material is already gone, it's not going to think that there's anything to go get, right? So the first thing we do is actually we create the stock and establish the X, Y, Z 0. So I'll let Billy go up here. So he clicked, he went up there, it just says setup, right there. You already got it. Then we're in mill, now model orientation. So we're just going to select Z and X. So what I want to do is I want the back part up there to be on the back of my vise. And then I want my XYZ 0 to be in the upper left with the Y pointed back and the X pointed down this way and the Z is up. So we can see that over here it's kind of messed up, which is not orientated right. So all he has to do is say Z surface, and there's like multiple things he can do. He can click that line, click it, and see now the Z just changed, right? He can just say flip. See it? Now the Z is correct. Go ahead and X out of it, like X out of it. No, not that one there. Yeah. Go ahead and go back. Now just that one, just click the top surface of the Z, like just right there, just click it. Boom. And it's already there, right? So you can click the line, you can click the top surface, you can click the construction view, either of the three. Everybody has different preferences. Okay, so now it's correct. Now we're going to go X, so just click an X line. Boom. X is in the wrong direction, so we flip it. That looks correct, right? Now, stock box point, we want it to be model box point, because we want to know exactly where the model is. So we click that guy, boom, and then we just click the dot up there, and we've established a 0. Now, the part already has material around it, so the see-through part is actually the raw material you're going to cut away, right? So what's the size stock that we have? It's 1x2 standard aluminum, right? And the part is 4 inches. So in the setup sheet, we say 4.1 saw cut, 4.1 plus 30 minus nothing. We understand the size. So Billy goes in here, stock material, and he goes ahead and adds. There's different ways to do it. I like, because we're not going to be even, we will click this guy, go down, and go stock on all sides. And now we know it's 1.9 and 4 inches, so we need 50 thousandths on each of the 4 sides. So he's just going to tab through it. 50, can't see it, but 50. Go ahead, tap, 50, and you can literally watch it just change. Now, the Z negative, it knows that it's Z negative, okay? So what we're gonna do is we have to hold on to more stock on the bottom, so we're gonna say 0.230, and you see the stock on the bottom that will get cut off on the second side. So the next one on the top is just 0.02, and then I look at the dimensions, and it shows me my rough stock is 1x2x4.1, which matches perfectly with the setup sheet.
So if you were actually milling this and you had a different stock size, you would put those specifications.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, whatever you want, really, or you could just adjust some cuts because you know what you know what I mean?
You just measure that with a caliper first before you put those in there?
Yeah, so this is aluminum, so if it's 20,000 off or something, it's not going to matter. But if a teacher wanted to, add a little extra stock or something, then you can put it in right here. But this basically mirrors exactly. And then from the beginning, you're teaching the student that it needs to be 4.1. So let's make sure that we cut it straight. Check it with a square. Make sure we're good. All right. So.
Not only does Titan give you free online courses to learn the 3D modeling program, which is the core of CNC manufacturing, he also gives you the professional grade tools you need to learn free of charge. Now, I'd hate to have to try to follow Titan on stage. Luckily, he presented for us for the entire day and no one had to try. But we do have 2 more professional development events that we'd like to tell you about. And they were wonderful as well. The first, or the third, I guess, in the series is a professional development event that we held in Yolo County. And it was a mix of presenters, and each of them had their own subject area that they were going to enlighten us on that were all relevant to CTE development, education or development in the northern state. So first up at event number 3 was Haas Automation. Haas's presenter, Chris, filled us in on their offerings in the classroom and how they related to the real world of manufacturing.
Shortly after we started as a company, 30 years ago, in about 1993, so 25 years back, we needed somewhere to be able to show our machines in a remote location where the commercial account couldn't drive all the way to the factory. So we picked a school, it was a Southern California school, that we had machines in their showroom, or we had showroom machines at the school, and they were able to use the machines, and we were able to show the machines to commercial accounts. The problem with it is that when the machine sold, we pulled the machine out of the school. So we left everybody flat-footed. We immediately saw the benefit of teaching students and how that was working for, not only for the school and developing career paths for students, but also filling a void in the manufacturing sector relative to careers for kids and employees for business owners. So we developed the education sales program. That started actually in the mid-90s, and we came up with a deep discount program. We came up with some partners that worked along with us so that we could have support. We offered training directly out of the plant for instructors, application support, service support. We did everything right out of headquarters at that point in time. We've matured to a new level, and we'll go through that. So, what is the HTech network? HTech is one thing, but the network is what really makes us different. The network itself, and I'll just read this, is an education and industry-led initiative that enables manufacturing technology educators and their schools to acquire and share information on latest technology, software, and education materials. What you'll find inside the network is that today, when you deal through standard administration in a school district, you'll get one story from industry. When you're inside the industry network with the HTech, you're dealing directly yourself right with the industry. I've got a couple of presenters after me that'll tell some stories about how that has worked out for them. HTech members can contact, collaborate, share, and network with over 2,200 schools, colleges, and universities in the U.S. That's my number today. About 2 years ago it was 1,800, so we're growing HTech schools at a very rapid rate. HTech members can contact and collaborate with dozens of industry partners, whether it's a tooling partner, it's a software partner, it's a work holding partner, it's a material supplier. We have relationships with all of these folks, and through the HTech Partner Network, you are now able to deal directly with those folks. A couple of stats, we all like stats. Over 2,200 schools, as I noted, in the U.S. About 3,200, quickly coming up on 3,300 from a global perspective. 7,000 machines in the schools, got 10,000 machines on a global perspective that are in schools that are supporting students and all part of the HTech network. Over 100,000 students have graduated through the H-Tech programs. 5 complete teacher training facilities in the U.S. I've had a chance to talk with a couple of you before the presentation, and thank you for that. But I've got teacher training programs from the East Coast to the West Coast, 5 of them, one up in the Bay Area, Mike Appio at De Anza College, great program, and we'll go through some of that in just a little bit. We also offer some foundation support to be able to offset the fees for that program as well. Education starter package for all educators. So if you purchase a machine from Haas Automation today, we developed a package that goes along with that machine that's got 10 partners that all have skin in the game, primarily no charge product that will go with you or with the machine for you and for your program. That includes software packages, it includes textbooks, it includes online training, it includes tooling, the list goes on. So I've got 10 of those, and if anybody wants to talk to me about that after the presentation, please come up and see me. Additional H-Tech partners, the H-Tech Partner Program, as I noted, lots and lots of industry support, deep discounts for anybody that is inside the membership, the network. A little bit more information on the network. Complete collaboration with all educators in the network anytime you want. So in those 2,200 schools that are in the U.S., as you go into my H-Tech network website, and I'll share that with you, I had it up a little bit before, but I'll share that with you. You can contact any one of those schools in the program and have a conversation about challenges that you see, benefits that you've heard from their program, and you'll find that all of the teachers are very willing and open inside H-Tech. We do 40 regional conferences. So the regional conference is a regionally local territory. Northern California has a regional conference, usually is in the fall. We had it at Sierra College just last November. We'll have a fall regional conference in Southern California as well. And I have those across the country. The regional conferences are teachers come in and we'll collaborate, sit down. I run a industry educator forum. Let me get to go through. So let's just talk about the regional conference just 1 minute. I just came up with a new format last year. The new format is I do an educator panel. When we ask very simple questions like, what's the best part of your program? We scribe that down. What's your biggest challenge? So as you can see with what I did in the pie chart here is I've labeled out what some of those problems were. Funding, recruitment, not enough time, instructor shortage, lack of understanding of the industry. And as I compile this data, I can then address that in my H-Tech newsletters that come out once a month. I'm going to back up just for a minute. We don't miss any. We also offer the Haas Tips of the Day. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the tip of the day, but I want to run one more video. So Mark Terryberry, who's one of our applications technicians and engineers, he's kind of a rock star for us. He's our voice behind the tip of the day. So we'll just show a short snippet.
Hello and welcome to this Haas Tip of the Day. Now we know what this is. It's an ER column, and it seems like half of the rotating tools that we use in our mills and our live tooling lathes are being held in one of these columns. That makes these a critical part of our manufacturing process and something worth understanding. Now there are lots of moving parts in our ER column holders, and each one of those pieces can either make our tools cut better or worse, so stick around.
So we have 65 currently released tips of the day. Thank you. So what I did when I first got the job, and I know Mark very well, is Mark came to me and said, Chris, this is going to be great for education. And I said, yeah, I think so. Let me take a look at the library. And I quickly noted that if I was an instructor, I probably have less time than I have, and I have no time to search for things. And so I asked the question, how do you find the right one? And he said, oh, they just search. They just go through a search. And that seemed to me to probably not be the best answer. So I went ahead and grabbed all of the tips of the day. At that point in time, there were 47 of them. And I put them into skill set. So I put entry level, intermediate, and advanced. Here's an example of what I did. Not sure if you can see this, but I can send this to all of you. It is a hyperlink over in the left-hand column where it says tip of the day title. I start off at the entry level. The very first one that I have is what is G-code. I sequentially numbered them inside each skill set, number 1 through whatever I drew it up to. In the entry level, it was 15. So I want you to watch them 1 through 15. This is meant to be an aid and a support for your classroom. If you're teaching how to square a vice, you're teaching what is G-code, teaching how to tap in an inch, how to tap in metric. We have a tip of the day and all of that.
Next was Amatrol. And Amatrol was presented by John Dahlgren and did an excellent classroom presentation on the systems used and produced by Amatrol. These are, how do I say it, they're kind of teaching pieces. They have a whole entire system encapsulated in one little presentation piece of equipment. So for instance, you might get all of electricity from, electrical circuits and how you make them, how you break them, and resistance, and all the basic principles that you might need, grounding for electricity, presented in one succinct box. And we'll show you a clip of that. I think you'll really enjoy it and understand that how valuable these systems are in the classroom, because it can take a really esoteric, difficult to understand concept and make it actually visible in front of you. So it's not simply illustrating something, it's actually demonstrating it. For instance, the laws of pneumatics. Not only can you see the equation and look at it and see how the math works, but you can actually see it at work in the Amatrol system that they put together for you. And you get to do hands-on stuff. You get to actually, connect the wires or connect the tubes that control the pneumatics. You actually get to turn on and off the pumps that might produce the pressure that you're measuring, and understand how pressure and heat are interrelated, so on and so forth. Amatrol really puts that all together for you very well.
Mic'd up, we're ready to go, we're wired for sound. Yes, I have a little bit of background, but I'll start with this simple premise. All that education background, industry background doesn't mean anything, because really, I'm just a frustrated stand-up comic. Okay, let's try that again. This is the sleepy part. I'm just a frustrated stand-up comic. I'm also a grandfather, so the jokes get really cheesy. Sorry. I'm not. All right, so yes, I do have a little bit of academic background. I didn't go to teacher school. I say that to my students every semester. I went to community college after high school. I was born in Berkeley. I was raised in Richmond. I graduated high school in Lafayette. Acalanes, go Dons. From there I went to community college, Dival Valley College, UBC. Represent, right? Because I was a kid who didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Found my way to a young lady. Chased that young lady to CSU Chico. Graduated in industrial technology. Next month, we'll be celebrating 34 years together. Woo! Makes me happy because I'm pretty lucky. You'd have to ask my wife how she feels. Thank you, appreciate that. But that said, I graduated in industrial technology and I didn't go to teacher school. I didn't go to school to become an educator. I went to school to utilize my passion in a way that was going to serve me. So I start off that way simply because you may have found your way similarly. You may find your students find that way through your programs. But I do come now with 8 years of full-time faculty experience at Butte College, and prior to that, about 12 years of part-time community college experience at Butte College in 2 different programs. And not prior to that, but during all that, I've been a full-time industry member as well. So I've been in and around various industries for over 30 years. And all that academic experience you see up there is basically just to tell you that I am in the trench every single day. When I leave here this afternoon, I got a whole lot of grading to do. I got to get back in the classroom and teach a 6-hour class on engineering graphics tomorrow from 8 to 1, which I teach once a week. So in doing that, my 30 years of experience also comes with a realization that one of the biggest challenges that I have faced throughout my entire career is this workforce continual upskilling. I've worked in manufacturing industries, I've worked in large assembly line industries. I spent 11 years in the RV manufacturing business. That's how I started my career. From there I moved on to my own business. I've been an entrepreneur twice. I've earned 2 PhDs in business failure. Come on. Thank you. Okay? I don't have a PhD. But I wouldn't have traded the experience at all. And I don't have a master's degree. So I am a CTE teacher. And I made my way in through what's called minimum qualifications through the community college system. So in doing so, and in understanding all those different things that I've done, I come with a passion to share with you about this thing that some of us might even remember. There's 1 or 2 in the room. Yeah. And that was the old-fashioned 101 electronics kit. Do you see any eerie similarities here? Give me a knob. You gotta follow. You can't stop with a new if you're not following with the knob. So the representation of Amatrol is not because I make money from Amatrol. I'm not here to represent Amatrol or Klein, although I know Chris really well and he's a great guy. I'm here to share with you my experiences as a user and as an integrator of this into my program areas, as well as the upskilling of North State workers. And to share in the constant lament that we all have as teachers that we really have changing technologies all the time, rapidly. We have upskilling that needs to happen, and we have multi-generational distance now from CTE education. And so our students don't come in with the same awareness that that kid had for me, and I'm 55. And in the entire story arc of my career, I've seen most of the shop classes disappear from high school. I've seen CITEA's membership drop from about 1,800 when I started with CITEA to about 600, 700 now. Maybe going through a little bump, but it's still under 1,000. And I get it. And the other thing that's happened, the other realization that I've had recently in representing this type of training in the workforce area is our younger generation, Gen X, maybe even younger, workers, are also suffering the acute need for upskilling or filling a gap that never was naturally filled from high school or from community college. So, oops. I wanted to kind of give you a sense of Amatrol's place in this. I'm going to start off with what Amatrol represents to filling a need, and then tell you a little bit about my experience going to their corporate headquarters in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And then my hope is to actually take you into the Amatrol system and let you experience the curriculum, see it, kind of go through collectively, have fun, go through a module or two, and then have you come up and use the equipment. Okay, very straightforward. But to share why Amatrol even exists, because for some, and I am respectful of this fact, that when you look at something as campy and goofy as 101 electronics kit, we are compelled today, especially from the perspective of credibility, that credibility is built in I have to have the piece of equipment precisely as it exists in industry. There's a problem with that, and I think we're all pretty familiar with that, and that is you have to have a lot of equipment in your classroom environment to serve every industry. So along comes Amatrol. And Amatrol, along with others in the field, have created a niche in the market associated with varieties of processing and manufacturing industries who all have needs, all have specific pieces of equipment, but when you render it down to technologies, everything revolves around electricity, hydraulics, pneumatics. It revolves around PLC technology, and it revolves around an industry need for constant upskilling and onboarding, because many of their workers coming in, they'll take anybody, and as we know, the skills gap is cavernous. And at the same time, we have a lot of unfulfilled employment going on in the United States for available jobs. So Amatrol, filling that niche, came from industry. All right, so what I think we'll do now is, let's come on up to the AC/DC electrical module, and let's take a look at it. Come on, just come on. Get it. It's okay. I like it. Just run it right in.
So this is a great place for us to really dive deeply into series versus parallel circuits. It's really cool to teach that from the perspective of bright bulb, medium bright bulb, dim bulb, series versus parallel, all three of them are bright, one at a time are bright, those kinds of things. You get a really vivid reaction. That's the good old days when we had that 101 tester and it made that amazingly awful noise. Well, we can make amazingly awful noise with this environment too.
I was always partial to the sonic fish collar myself.
Isn't that awesome? I love that. That is singing fish. So, speaking to you as a teacher, okay, one of the interesting reactions from our community college folks, Chris, you're in the room, so, but you know this, right? One of our criticisms, who uses banana plugs anymore?
This is crazy. Nobody uses these banana plugs.
How else are you going to make a connection that makes sense and be able to have the mobility of pulling it out, putting it into another location? So in this case, even though it may not quite look like a real connection with a real screw bus that you would find in industry, you don't have time to create that kind of a connection with a screwdriver or other type of fastening device when I don't really need to. What I really need to do is access my source selection. I need to be able to go in. I need to be able to have my circuit broken at this point, but allow me to complete a circuit by putting a leaf on each side, and now I have reaction. Ta-da! Let there be light. And so in this case, this is magnificent stuff, even for trainees, believe it or not. They get pretty excited about this kind of stuff. And that's what I find to be enlightening, to help employers understand, especially human resource departments and things of that nature. This is how big the skills gap really is. We can't assume that every single worker or every single student comes from an environment where dad or grandpa was in the garage doing their thing. They may come from apartments. They could come from a place where they've never seen this before.
All of our presenters truly were excellent and gifted teachers, and I think John is probably the pinnacle of. And our third professional development really went well. I thought it covered a lot of areas and brought a lot of content to one full day of presenting that was very beneficial not only to the educators but also the administrators to understand what were those tools or equipment or pieces of technology that might be crucial in the classroom that aren't currently in their programs. So we really appreciated that day. As they say in Mendocino, Mendocino in May is the place to be. It was absolutely beautiful and wonderful. And John Dahlgren, again presenting for us on lean principles, was wonderful and just did a great job. One teacher in attendance even remarked to me that this was several weeks after the event in Mendocino, that he went home and reordered his entire metal and woodworking shop and manufacturing shop, or was it just his, no, it was just his metalworking shop, that's right, sorry, he started with the metalworking shop and said, I realized the lean principles that John presented offer an opportunity for me to make my classrooms much more efficient, much safer, and also more organized over the long run, taking the burden off of him for things like cleaning up and organizing materials and tools and keeping track of those things so that he could focus on the teaching task in particular and forget about the sort of, well, not forget about it, but have less involvement in the day-to-day administration of the space. And that really set him free to focus more on the goals of teaching as opposed to just the administration of the space that he had. Is this an Andy Kaufman routine?
No.
That along with Archie losing their game. Alright, so hopefully this moves forward. Yeah, the way today is going to work for our mutual benefit is to try and make some connection between this lean thing and what it is that we do in the classroom. I'm going to give you an overview of lean from a culture standpoint, try and connect some dots about some of the things you may have heard from your advisory committee, some of the things you may be experiencing currently in terms of the pressures of the conversation, as well as maybe from your experience in the industry or how you got here into teaching. Then we're going to talk about 5S, and I'm going to give you a very high-level presentation. A little bit immersive, maybe a little interactive too. I've got a little exercise that might be fun for that stage work. And then my hope is by the end of the day, so about mid-afternoon, to kind of work towards working with you in building a connection of how can I make this work in the classroom? How can I actually connect that dot? So it feels a little disconnected at first. All I would invite is that you got questions, you've got things that are on your mind.
I remember working with those.
Yeah, great question. So when ISO came into American existence, it had been in existence for quite some time before that. By the way, thank you. You called it ISO. And a lot of people call it ISO, and it's not an acronym. It's actually a Greek word meaning equal. So ISO 9001 came into existence right around 1991. In the United States. And when it did, it provided a framework of steps and methods that said, you must document what your processes are. You must adhere to the processes you have. And that's where the standards stopped at the time. By the mid-1990s, they had already evolved to the next iteration of 1990. Where they started to evolve into a process-based quality system. Inputs, process, outputs. I'll have a graphic on that a little bit later to talk about the idea that now not only do you have to have a process of measuring, or excuse me, having the process documented, you you have to be able to measure the effectiveness of that process through an automated method. And that's where we are pretty much in the evolution. A lot of other things added onto it, like risk management and other things. But essentially, it's a process-based quality management system that has roots in Lean, Six Sigma, measurement. So it's kind of connecting all that together. Great question.
Before you go into that, and go into ISO.
Yeah.
What was the big program introduction for that?
Before ISO? So everything was rooted from kind of it was a bifurcated approach. If it was private industry, it was a free-for-all. Whatever you can get away with as fast as you possibly could. But on the governmental side, there were other standards pre-ISO that were more mil-spec and mil-standards. So we had the evolution of the harmony of those standards methods coming about around that early 1990s. But they were all driven from a military background, which had roots in World War II in mass customization. Time and motion, well, that goes all the way back to Frederick Taylor back in the day. Yeah, I know. This is good stuff.
Towards standards.
Oh, great question. So that's a whole evolution of validation that's all part of a quality system standard. But the validation now in today's world, Underwriters Laboratory being a great example of a third-party testing and affirming agency with a standardized methodology for testing for safety and effectiveness of consumer products. To get that UL label, it takes a lot, and it costs a lot, but there's a reason for it, and that's safety orientation. That if you're going to throw that toaster into the bathtub, you better have a GFI attached to it that's going to work. Right? Yeah, good question.
And what was the Toyota continuous improvement that was doing? Correct?
Guys, this is fantastic. I feel like this is my midterm. Right? Okay. Toyota production system. Often, Toyota being spelled Toyoda, which is the European and Japanese version of that word, but we know it as Toyota with a T. Toyota production system was the most widely accepted methodology up to today as being a lean-based methodology for inventory and process management. And it is at the advanced education level a course of study and a whole philosophy that goes with it that's all demand-based. So it's 100% full system. We're going to talk about that today. What other quiz questions? This is cool. I like it. Okay.
Is now the time to talk about Kanban? No.
You can speak to Kanban, but I have not, in this case, made one to take one yet. That's a Kanban joke, by the way. So I'll be making one this afternoon. Come back. All right, so in our visual map here, the 5 main principles of Lean go like this. Specify the value from the standpoint of the customer. That's going to be the biggest opportunity for discussion we're going to have today. So who's the customer? Identify the value stream. In other words, in the whole realm of things, what's the customer paying for? Then finding a way to create flow, movement, natural progression of steps, procedures, processes of the remaining work that we have to do that is going to be moving only at the rate the customer wants or needs. Nothing more, nothing less. And the last, which is the Toyota methodology from Toyota Production Systems in the pursuit of perfection. Perfection is an attitude, not necessarily an aim. Okay? That's where Six Sigma comes in to say, I'm going to have one typo in all the books in the New York Library. I'm going to find it. And my job is to figure out how to eliminate it and prevent it from happening again. And if it does happen again, we'll find it, eliminate it, prevent it from happening again. So it feels a little bit like a lather, rinse, repeat, but it's an attitude and it's a pursuit. It's really a relentless culture toward it, not necessarily that when you get to perfection, you're done. It won't work that way. So, I actually do want to spend some time talking about find ways to address that. Because I really do think that's our point of commonality here. That's my opinion. Because I struggle with it too. I really do. Okay. So, lean, by definition, you can look it up on Wikipedia and they come up with an awful lot of words. And by the way, I don't have as negative a view of Wikipedia as that. It's pretty accurate. Becoming lean is a process of eliminating waste with the goal of creating value. Now that's an evolving definition because the initiation of lean concepts, especially through Toyota production systems, was value add, waste elimination, in that order. But from a culture standpoint, if we don't know what the value is, we haven't mapped it, we don't know what the current state is, then we don't have a goal to get to for what's next. Now you measure all kinds of stuff in your classrooms, right? Right? Give me an example. All kinds of things you measure in your classroom.
Attendance rates, their grades.
Yep. Nice. Persistence rates, those kind of things that they get from one semester to the next, and they drop out, disappear. College application statistics, the most common one. But if our customer is the student, how much value does that add from their point of view? Exactly. So, in measuring our process, what measurements do we have in place for our processes?
Almost none.
Well, I'm going to say that the most effective measure is you, of your process. Your process effectiveness. It's what makes losing one of you so tragic. The reality is, we measure all the time. We just don't, with necessity, put it into an understandable place to enunciate and talk about it and share it from the customer's perspective. So that's another aspect that I want to get to today, back to that question of what? It's your job to make sure you get a question.
Doing everything together to reduce that load that.
Exactly. Or in pursuit of the goal. Anybody have one that's you didn't think of or you didn't think of that you put on the table to talk about? What about waste reduction? I was getting, let me get back to the anorexia thing. Let me get back to that. We're all running already. Matter of fact, if we weren't pretty good at keeping stuff squirreled away, so there's one store, we're not going to use them, right? We wouldn't necessarily have the resources that we need, so we make our best over time with what we have. Some would classify that as waste until it's valuable. So we got to have a way to differentiate that. All right. Waste itself, and in the form of a question, in a job you've had, in a thing you've done, give me an example of waste that you incur. Time, yeah. Time. Yeah, because time equals money. Yeah. First thing I tell my students the very first step. Time equals money. That's what you're going to measure. Give me another one.
Get to the first answer. What things were in keep that you were waiting for, or whatever that impressed out.
That's right. Yeah, it happens by inches. You're 100% right. Give me another example. Let's give me a specific example. You're going to bake a pie. There can be. in California, don't you? You gotta have all of your rice straw.
So the mini expos that we had alongside of our professional development for the manufacturing teachers was to have vendors as well as business partners within the communities around us and the community colleges or the high schools to showcase either their textbooks, their learning materials, what the job market or experience is needed for those people, for the employers, for companies that manufacture things and maybe have jobs and careers for students once they finish a program and or degree, as well as we had the students showcasing what they're actually doing in high schools and what they're manufacturing and maybe using to fundraise and sell to promote their program and their skills.
That's right. We had the kids with the honey and and the olive oil, which I bought. Right? No, was it honey or it was just
olive oil? And the floral company, the floral department or floral
That's right.
program even brought their little breeze to show us what they made.
Yeah, that's right.
As well, and so all of our teachers and vendors and business partners wandered in and out all day, basically, if you will. Granted, it was like a complete all day, but some of the days were only half, depending on the location. But we had them at all 4 of our events. Some areas and vendors were smaller than others. The biggest draw I think we had, or interest that excited everybody, was when we had the gentleman from the electric car place.
Yeah, right.
I can't remember the name.
Peter Oliver.
But they give her the company.
Yeah.
Now, anyway.
That's all right. We'll put it up on the screen. So.
My name is Peter Oliver. I'm the co-founder of Switch Vehicles, and we make an education product for schools where students can learn how to work as a team to build an electric vehicle. Helping the students develop not only the knowledge of the technology of the electric car, but all of the soft skills that you need to get by once you've started working in your career. You need to work as a project manager. You need to get your work done on time and on schedule. You need to coordinate that effort with other groups that are doing the same thing on that project. You need to be able to get along and communicate with each other. So we're teaching all the soft skills that are really part of a project like this. One example was not long ago we delivered a vehicle to a school and we recorded some of the student responses. And one of the students said, you know, I'm a high school kid. I can't build a car. You must be crazy. And then we were fortunate enough to go back and interview that student again. And he came out of it going, you know, you delivered this car to me and I thought you were crazy because I couldn't believe I could actually help build a car and then be able to drive it. And so he did. He said, you know, I built the car, we worked as a team. It was hard, there were some things that we couldn't figure out, but we worked at it and we built the car. The difference between those two people was a lot of growth. And that's what happens with success. Trying to do things bigger than you think you can do. So that's one of the ways we're helping with the switch.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about this?
Well, you know, it's just a great opportunity. We've had interns that have graduated from college with engineering degrees, but they were engineering degrees without a lot of practical experience of building things. So there's nothing like actually working to build something
that really enhances your career and your perspective on life. So we're really fortunate that we're involved in this program, and we're really happy that we're able to help people gain the confidence that you can only gain when you actually build something with your hands.
And where can we find information about this?
You can find information about the Switch Lab by searching for the Switch Lab on the web, or going to www.switchlab.com. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Get you information about the lowest cell and the highest cell. So a battery is made up of a bunch of individual cells, and we want them all to be about the same voltage.
Started back in 2003, and it's basically by teachers and for teachers. CTE teachers are invited to come to our institutes, write their best lessons, and then we publish them on the CTE Online website for absolute free for anyone to use, specifically CTE teachers, although in the last few years we've been inviting academic teachers as well. So we have anything from digital photography to history and social science lessons on the site.
Because everybody's excited about that, and the few people that got to take a ride in it, whether it was the students or some of our employees here at TCD, the maintenance people, Kai, and other locations at Mendocino College and such, really excited them, because I think at first maybe they thought, oh, that thing's not going far, it doesn't go fast, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But they were really surprised and really cool. And then in the end, in visiting some of the community colleges during the summer for field trips for our other program, and seeing that some of the community colleges and other high schools within the North State regions, even in El Dorado County, that actually have some of those cars so that students can work on them, was exciting to see that it's not just a promotional thing or an idea, and only some of the schools maybe in Sonoma County close to the gentleman's business would have them, but they're actually becoming more prominent, I guess you say, for learning materials for students to put together, take apart, see how they run, etc. So that was exciting.
Right, and lots of battery-driven vehicles and other battery-driven technologies are coming out, so that's a huge learning platform for growing industry in California in particular, right?
Yes.
So a very valuable thing in that regard as well. So let me back up a little bit, if that's okay. Let's talk about how this whole thing kind of fits together, because we have these mini expos, but then we have the presentation itself that happened on those days. But then we also have the grants that we administrated at the schools and the other locations for various projects and such. Can you give us an overview, like the 50,000-foot overview of each of those components? Not discussing, you won't need to talk about every school, but just, how all that fit together in this particular grant that we worked on for these last.
For the contract.
Yeah, all the moving parts.
We give grants, but we were having contracts. So
right.
yeah.
Exactly.
So in a sense, when Dr. Mary Gallup, who I used to work with, State Department of Education, the industry sector lead, thought of this idea and contacted me, as well as having me come to a Grow Manufacturing Initiative board meeting, of which then just going made me kind of be part of it. I didn't realize I voluntold. Anyway, I got voluntold.
Thank you, Mary.
So yes, thanks, Mary. So at any rate, being there and planning, and the Chico State Manufacturing Expo Day, which was exciting to know that they do that, and they actually have a lot of great manufacturing, not just engineering and architecture, but manufacturing programs for advanced manufacturing, as well as the construction and building trades program, so the students can get certificates as well as 4-year degrees for a career technical education pathway. It's expected in engineering and architecture. You have to have those things, but to know that construction management and those skills are relevant and necessary at the 4-year level, as well as agriculture and some of the others. It's nice to see that education at higher levels of of education are recognizing that even though somebody's secondary and there might be credentials or certificates or licensures, that even expanding and doing 4-year or beyond degrees for students can advance their career components, I guess you'd say, in success, to perhaps maybe develop more entrepreneurs or innovators such as Peter Oliver and others who invent those kind of things. And Bill, who at Transfer Flow, they've invented some parts and such that didn't exist for fuel tanks.
Right.
So I think those are the things that we have a basic education, but the more you get, then the more you get to develop and make and learn.
Right.
So when she,
sorry,
that's fine. So when she brought it up to me, my thought was, okay, we have professional development, and those are great and grand, but what else can we do to draw them in? Well, what happens at a big conference? Typically, you have these speakers or workshops, maybe a keynote session or whatever you want to call it, and then they have these little expo areas where vendors and people are, you know, if you will, selling their goods or marketing their stuff to help those particular areas of expertise, whatever that may be. And people wander in, talk, learn, maybe buy, expand it to their businesses or programs or schools, whatever the case is. And so it seems like a more holistic approach. So that's the reason for the mini expo to go with the PD, to have like breakout. So as opposed to just wandering the hall or being on their phones, they actually had somewhere to go and kind of continue that networking as well as learning or discovering things that might help their students in their classrooms in that manner. As far as the grants, it was a directive from Mary that she wanted some demonstration grants to be model programs. So that was where the idea of the grants came through, and I thought, well, we have enough money, why don't we do some CT improvement grants so that schools could, outside of manufacturing, could apply to improve their programs. So maybe it might be the startup seed money for something such as our Arcata and McKinleyville schools, which did the tiny house projects.
Right, yeah.
You know, so it was kind of a startup so that you could get it going and keep it going by, you know, their own means and other ideas that they have.
Right. But the idea was that they would build one little house or something like that and then sell that and reuse the capital grant that we had given them to continue on, right?
Right, they continue on. The teachers got professional development on how to go through all that and what was expected, you know, kind of building code, I guess you'd say. And then we had the others where we did the arts, media, entertainment to film, and that allowed, which I was more in tune to, because this was now bringing the students in from the schools who were in photography and video production classes to actually get real life working skills to where they had to film, edit, add the closed captioning. They had to be taking pictures, interviewing some of the guest speakers or lead speakers, or even they walked through the expo room and talked to some of them and took pictures and interviewed those people, as well as the various staff members that were there.
So that incorporated like photography, journalism, really, right? Because they were
interviewing.
Yeah, creating interviews and conducting them, and then all angles of videography, even screenwriting to some extent, because they had to plan out what they were going to do and what conversations they were going to have. So, I mean, it was really a really varied group of skills that they had to try to put together as students to make a production,
right? Then gives them such a grand experience, if you will, for a portfolio and graduating high school of the work they've accomplished, so that this is really what they want to do for a career. It helps them with their college applications, saying this is what I've done in high school. It helps them with the job. This is what I've done in high school. And so it helps them at every level to continue in that realm and or education track, or maybe just supplements them because it's a hobby, but they have other desire for a different education pathway with college or something, but now they can supplement it with some other skill that they now have, but they can make money on the side.
Right.
My name is Jose Velasquez, and I'm a senior here at Sonoma Valley High School.
My name is Lauren Smith. I'm a senior at Sonoma Valley High School.
My name is Delfino Macias. I'm a senior at Sonoma Valley High School.
For the mini grant, I took on the role as a videographer and basically recorded videos of Mr. Titan presenting.
And filmed B-roll and interviews for the Maker event.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Baker, and I'm a sophomore at Sonoma Valley High School. For
For the grant, I videotaped, I took B-roll, took pictures, and I also did interviews.
I'm August Andy, and I go to Sonoma Valley High School, and I'm a sophomore. We would probably work on the sound and make sure that we didn't have any noise in the background when filming.
So, what do you think was the best part about this experience?
I think the best part was being able to work with footage like that and be able to film other speakers and learn about their ideas.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Actually, video and photography is not that different. It's all about getting the right angles, making sure everything's in focus, just aligning everything up, making sure there's nothing distracting the main focus point. And what we learned in photography, we just applied those skills to videography, and it was not that different. It was pretty similar, actually.
Hi, my name's Jack Peer. I'm a junior at Sonoma Valley High School, and I'm currently taking photo and video. So that experience helped me as a videographer and photographer by helping the school and kind of figuring out what it was like to be on a schedule and having certain shots that you have to get in a certain time frame.
Are you going to be doing video and photography next year?
Yeah, I'll be continuing video and photography next year.
Hi, my name's Edgar Sanchez, and I'm a sophomore at Sonoma Valley High School. So for the grant, I videotaped the speakers and I did some interviews. And the hardest part about it, or the most challenging part about it, was probably getting to talk to the speakers for the interviews. And then the easiest part about it was just editing the video.
I joined the video arts program as a sophomore and then moved on in my junior year. I'm not currently in it in my senior year, but I have continued producing films.
So it was definitely a new experience, but it wasn't anything I didn't feel unfamiliar with. I do have experience with photography, taking pictures with cameras, and it is similar in the sense that you have to get the right angle and have to make everything sort of look good. You have to make sure there's no distracting background, focus on the presenter. The weekend before was actually prom, which definitely tired us out, but we managed to pull through the event and pull off a pretty spectacular video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rigo Vasquez, and I'm a student here at Sonoma Valley High School. For my electives, I'm currently in photography too, and I also take metal shop, and that's why it was kind of interesting to see the CNC part, because we apply that also in our metal shop, and we're trying to get into that kind of careers and open up pathways for students here. Next year I'm going to Santa Rosa JC. I'm just planning to do my general ed for a few years.
Next year, I'm attending St. Mary's College in Moraga, majoring in Justice, Community, and Leadership, and I know that I'm going to have my camera in my hand 50% of the time.
Next year I'm going to go to Santa Rosa Junior College and do my general ed and then transfer out to Chico, hopefully.
Excellent. Do you know what you want to do?
I want to get a degree in construction management.
Okay, so that makes sense. So that's like what we call the arts, the media, and entertainment grants, doing the videography and everything. That covers the small project improvement grants where they did the tiny house builds and that sort of thing. But there was this other group of grants, the manufacturing capacity building model grants, right?
Yes, such a mouthful.
I know, we should have thought of a better acronym.
Loves acronyms.
Or not an acronym at all. But that's what we called it. And we had a couple. I facilitated one out on the coast with the Southport folks, and Veronica facilitated one at Sonoma Valley. And then we also had Red Bluff High. And tell us a little bit about the purpose of those grants and how you felt the schools took the purpose of it and actually tried to execute on it. And did you think that went well? Did you think it didn't go well? Do you think there were things that we could have done better or improved on, or just, what were the highlights, that sort of stuff?
Oh, well, as we know, everything always, when you look back, can always be better and improved. And of course, having more money, more time would always help too.
Sure.
But in the short time we've had and the directives we had, I think that the schools actually did a phenomenal job
me
of
too,
getting
yeah.
done what they were required within their scope of work, if you will, in their MOUs from us to get the grant funds.
Yeah.
All three of them, Sonoma Valley High, South Fork High, and Red Bluff High, all were different in a sense that we have advanced manufacturing at Red Bluff High. And Brett, the teacher there, took some professional development with his funds. I think they did some other maybe smaller equipment purchases since it wasn't a big amount. They each got $20,000, but he got to do a lot more professional development. He got to go see other high schools that have some phenomenal advanced manufacturing program. You know, so he got
Millions
to collaborate.
of dollars worth of equipment
millions
there.
of dollars. So with bigger high schools, say in Sacramento area, in the Bay Area, and things like that. So he got to go places that maybe he couldn't have gone to see. And while Red Bluff might not can afford all that, he could see other ways to maybe bring in ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe next time asking his partners, hey, this is what we need, or maybe talking about Shasta College with his dual enrollment, how can we do this or change this, or what else can we get credit for. So those were some good open discussions. Their board meetings, their manufacturing board meetings, as well as their CT advisory board meetings were really good and very well attended, to the point that they were very much in support of him and helping him do whatever needed to be done for the students.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good relationship. That while they've had that quite a while, I think this made them really focus on the direct needs of that industry sector.
We really had a meeting, it really worked. Okay, so let's get started, and then we'll have other people join in when they get here. Everybody knows everybody here? Yes. No, Sarah. Hi, Sarah Smith, Director of Educational Services. George is Sherry, and hi. Okay, so let's go on to the workshop. The person that is here is Brett. This is our second workshop that is through the grant. We have 2 more coming up, and I didn't get to go to this one because we were doing interviews. I heard really good things.
So I think the biggest thing out of it is I had worked with Titan before. I knew who he was. I knew the influential type person he is, and been tracking what he's been doing for quite a while. I actually asked the county at one time to help me get him up here for the school. I think in that, putting together this was fantastic and getting that. Very inspirational speaker, has a very interesting background story of coming from a very hard life and making it, and paying that forward by trying to help those that have had similar hard lives. But he has a passion for his industry, and it's now showing up even more because he announced he was taking his roughly $15 million a year shop and closing it and going 100% free education for teachers to learn how to teach kids the skills they need to work in the industry today. So just hugely impactful. He's creating the curriculum for us, doing video, doing the work in the computers. We just follow the steps, produce the product, and the kids learn how to do the work. And
that's
so,
new, right, Brett? The giving away of the curriculum is new, right? He had been out doing.
no, he had the curriculum out there, but it wasn't, emphasized as curriculum. It was just, here's some things to help you out. Now he is committed, he calls it Titans of CNC Academy, and he is committed to producing curriculum. One of the things is I have a machine that goes like this, and spindle goes up and down. There's machines out there that go like this. And then there's machines out there that spin parts like this and have tools going like this at the same time. And beyond this, there's no curriculum in the industry whatsoever. So you learn as you go, or you learn from the manufacturer when you buy it. He's going on beyond that. He is actually producing curriculum that if you have one of those machines, your people can come out and how we run those machines and actually physically be able to go out and do the work, not just have been introduced. So, huge benefit to our programs. He has sponsorship. He has teamed with Autodesk, who 2010 took a $1.9 billion education business and zeroed it out by making 100% free all their products to education.
Question for you, the name of this person, because you keep
Titan
saying.
Gilroy.
Titan.
Titan
Is his first, the last name is
Gilroy, like the town of Gilroy.
Gilroy. I wasn't hearing the Roy, I was hearing Gil, thank you.
Yeah, and so he's teamed with Autodesk, who in essence has done the same thing. And that really revolutionized the education industry because it gave every district that could put a computer up and running the ability to run a CAD program with no extra expense. And so there's downfalls to their system as opposed to paying for the other systems that are in the industry today. One is when you pay for a system, you can gain certifications. In Autodesk, they allow certifications to be done through third party, but you have to pay. So at the end of the year, if you wanted to do certifications for your entire class, you would probably pay out the same amount of money as if you had the program that you paid for or the thing. But being able to train people, just to train people without worrying about the certifications in the short term really helps out.
What are some of the other systems? Like, what are examples? Like, you didn't use that.
SolidWorks is the industry standard for smaller business. There are actually 3 or 4 platforms above that are worldwide that are ultra powerful compared to something that runs on. They run on mainframes in companies' basements.
So is Bill Gaines excited about this? Or?
Bill Gaines loves SolidWorks and understands if our kids learn SolidWorks and we also supplement with, or learn AutoCAD and supplement with SolidWorks, he gets the best of both worlds.
And this does both of those?
And so we already have SolidWorks here. Most schools are teaching SolidWorks. Doesn't cost anything to add the Autodesk portion of it. So the idea is that you teach both.
And Autodesk teaches
Autodesk is CAD. They have computer-aided machines.
South Fork, Kenny, relatively new, but very experienced in the industry.
Right.
And very small school, gets very little funds for things, just because of the size of their school and the student population, so they don't get as much. I felt it helped them significantly.
Yeah.
More than what they could have ever hoped to done for his program.
Right.
Getting articulation agreements with College of the Redwoods, getting some other equipment, getting him some other training or certificates for students. The things that they utilized and did for their stuff, and you know, because you attended their meetings more
Right.
than I did. I just got the
summaries,
what happened,
yeah.
summaries of what happened. But like I said, it was something that had this not come along, they couldn't have done.
Right.
Or should I say, it was going to take eons before they'd have got it
Yes.
accomplished because
Much longer.
they were so small. Everybody dismisses all these small schools because they don't have that buy-in or political pull, which has always been a passion in the North, which, just to bring it back around, was the reason Mary wanted to work with me in helping the schools in the North, because she knew my passion for the North, because they are small, they don't get as many funds, they don't have as many students.
Right.
And so that was the focus of why it was up here.
Right. But can I do it? May I interrupt? But even there, at that little school with very few resources, they put together a great team. They got great community involvement. They were able to put together the pathways with all the requirements that are required for the grant, which was huge, including the articulation, which I think they got sooner than everybody else, right? I mean, in terms of the completion of the grant. And Kenny loved all of the Kenny kept telling me how he loved all the professional development events. You know, I mean, he went to our last lean principles training, and he came back and he redid his entire shop according to what John Dahlgren had presented, and you know, he was telling me how he thought that helped him manage his resources and materials, improve the safety of his kids in the class, and also the efficiency that they could get their work done, so that they weren't struggling so much to have, you know, each person have enough time on machines and things like that. And that was a real. That little grant went a lot further there than it probably could have anywhere else because of, you know, how resource poor. So that was. Maybe I haven't actually expressed this to you because we haven't, you know, digested it, but I think that's really helpful.
And I think that's why I always fell in love with the little bitty smaller necessary rural schools, because they got so little but they did much more, and it was never a complaint of, well, now I've got to take this on, or I've got this more responsibility, or whatever. It's just like, no, this is for the students and they do it.
Yeah.
So while all the schools have unions, it was never an issue of, well, that's just too much work. It was, no, this is for the students, this is what's good for them, I'll do it. Yeah. And that's why I would always go back for it. So then Sonoma Valley. So while we had advanced manufacturing rep left, and we had a basic manufacturing or welding and joining materials product development over in South Fork.
Career-ready practices for students, getting them ready to go to a job right out of high school, maybe even start an internship during their high school career, or you know, be more ready for a trade school, tech school, kind of centered around the non-college path, something to fit for the rest of those guys. And I'm supposed to be trying to develop some business partners.
I work for Tehama County Schools, but I'm sort of the conduit between you guys and the state for the purposes of this grant. We have a contract with the state to administrate these grants from Tehama County for Northern California. And I'm mostly just here to help if I can.
Colleen O'Sullivan, school counselor for the high school. Angie and
And Osprey.
I'm here for. I'm Tori McClett, and I'm here taking notes for Dawn from the district office.
Jennifer McClure, CTE coordinator for the purposes of this, and then the arts and media entertainment sector is here videoing the meetings. So.
You guys all know me, I'm Kenny Ingles, industrial arts instructor here at South Fork.
Bill Richards, English and History here at the high school.
Jay Parks, math and science here.
Cindy Aguirre, principal. Did we skip? Oh, you already introduced me.
He's okay.
Sorry,
Yeah, you're good.
I'm Ross Hubert. I would have graduated here in '96, and I own a small engineering consulting firm in Redwood.
I'm Jordan McClett. I graduated here in 2001. Worked with McClett's Automotive and JRM Stuntbrand.
Here, the reason why we have this eclectic group of people is Kenny's the lead teacher for the grant. I'm CTE coordinator, and we have general ed teachers here because they're on board with things. We're supposed to have an admin here, so we have Cindy here today, and her and Dawn are going, kind of both keeping in touch just in case, because you never know what's going to go on. The counselor is involved. Industry partners, we didn't have any show up last time. It's hard, a lot of you, and we appreciate you guys being here because typically if you volunteer for things, it's not just the one thing you volunteer for, it's many things. And so we appreciate the time you are taking to be here. And it's good that you guys are here today because already that's an improvement showing that our community support is here and on board. We have all our monthly meetings decided on, times and dates. The CTE pathway for manufacturing product development was sent all out to you yesterday. I sent that so you can see that we have a clear introduction class, a concentrator class, and a capstone class. And it has a little blurb about what each class focuses on. We talked about career exploration. We have Skills USA incorporated into our CTE classes here. We also bring in people that do presentations. Trade schools come in, and we have career day that we're gearing up for here in 30 days. Let's see, going down. Internship, externships, we're looking into more, rather than trying to place current students in internship places, because it's hard to come by. It's hard to get community members here, let alone trying to place somebody within a reasonable travel distance who will take them. So we were thinking more about focusing on those seniors that want to graduate and go into the field, help place them places. So find them an actual job, or find them an apprenticeship, or get them into a trade school if that's what they want. So we want to focus that aspect less on actual internships during school time to their future beyond their time at Southwood. Let's see. Awards and degrees. Skills USA, we're working towards going into like the regional competitions maybe next year. It's a new thing. But Kenny currently does the IT fair, and they're gearing up for that. He's also looking for a national welding certificate, something that he can do here for like the seniors coming out of their capstone. And he's also looking into getting perhaps certified as a reader.
If we could be doing something like that in-house would be amazing. Right now we're doing a mock welding certification, right? I have them do the same thing with 1/4" metal because we can afford it, and then just bend it over a mandrel and check the grain structure. Essentially the same thing that they would do without the acid etching and microscope.
Yeah, we did that when I was here.
Yeah, it's a fun way, and it's actually kind of, everybody likes to break their welds or see if they break, so that makes it kind of fun. And for me, I think that's one of the most important parts of the class. It's great to get them ready for stuff or meet requirements and stuff, but they have to be interested in doing it. They have to want to be in the class and want to learn it, or otherwise it's just a struggle to get them to learn. So trying to stoke them up like with, hey, you can get a certification, or hey, this is a thing you're learning that could directly go into a job that you could be doing. Seems like it's been the best way to bridge the gap between the required standards and what students actually want to do.
Take metal shop if you want to go for physics, trust me.
Everybody's going to have the academics. Yeah. You're all going to end up with the same academics at the end.
I was wondering so I've got this chunk of cash. I've got some things that are really requirements for the shop, but there's some flexibility. I've been, of course, just reaching out to my student population, putting together lists of what they felt were the most important things, for them, because they've been working in the classroom, some of them for 3 or 4 years now, and so they know what we're missing with what we're already doing. But I'm wondering what things you guys might think would be valuable skills or things to work with that might help them jump towards really any field, not just metalworking. I want them to be ready for anything. 4x4
shaper.
The Shapiro one?
It's a router that has a screen on it,
mm-hmm.
and you program what you want to cut. Like, let's just say it's a circle. So you draw the circle in the CAD and you throw it on the screen. It actually has a little CAD program on the screen. And then you hold the router, and it has these stickers that you put down, and that's what it reads. And you just have to roughly trace it looking at the screen, and it adjusts the router head
to adjust
for your silliness, and it can just, you can cover really complex things, but you are the table.
Nice. How do you what kind of software would that use? Is it just a standard?
My friend, do you know Simone Gertz, the queen of shitty robots? She's like a big YouTube star right now. She's like, she's pretty famous, you can look her up or whatever, but Shaper just gave her one, and we've been playing around with it.
Huh. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I mean, I think there is an interface right on it you can do a lot of work on, but I think you just USB it straight to it.
Cool. It needs to be durable enough, because students are come up with really inventive ways to destroy expensive things.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's part of the learning process. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to feel bad when they screw something up, or they won't be willing to try something new. Some sort of a frame jig or a layout table that we could work with, maybe some modular modular framing
You got a
stuff.
plasma table, you can just cut out all your little metal brackets and tab them all together and self-fixturing, and it's just such an easier way. Most of the fixturing I do is plasma table.
Rotary, so that you can take
Right,
the
right,
phone
with the plasma.
and it rotates it in that direction.
Hi.
Bonnie, hey.
Talking about
Thank you so much for coming. Sorry, Blake, perfect timing
Copper notcher.
Yeah, something like that, but I'm not sure what the easiest or most practical.
You have a Piranha
Yeah.
iron worker. Your iron worker has an implement that attaches to it, so
Okay.
you can actually do coping with that.
Really?
And it's the safest way, so kids don't lose anything.
Oh, that would be great, because like, we've been just using the milling machine.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm glad having them using the milling machine. It's slow, it is, and it's
overkill for.
Yeah.
it takes up a bunch of time.
It's
and
money
so
when it
that's-
fits, but.
That would be great, so there is something for the piranha.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
you know,
Stations is what you need. So like if you're gonna go pipe fitting,
Mhm.
there's prep, and then there's actual cutting and fitting, and then there's welding. And those are three separate unions. Finger brake, yeah, they have a sheet metal finger brake.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
box
little-
pan brake.
Yeah, it's a little one.
Yeah,
It
you
is.
could buy a better one of those for like $1,500.
But then when it comes to working just basic vehicle stuff, what do you think would be, valuable to have around the classroom?
I think like Lonnie said, if you're not gonna go Jackson Jack stands, which in this day and age, I get that that's not probably an option anymore, like it was when we were in school.
Right,
But,
it wasn't a big deal.
a 4-post lift is nice, but I think it's a lot more costly.
If they're gonna be doing frame type stuff, you wanna educate them on the metallurgy of what they're doing. Because there is chromoly, there is A36, there's just so many different metals.
Yeah.
And the primary ones are what you would wanna focus on, but it's super expensive and it's hard to practice with it. Because he was showing me how to weld up. His technique was, if you show up, you get a D. And if you're really interested, you get a B. And if you stick around after hours, you get an A. And that, like, if you have interest, you're gonna get an A. So that was his incentive, but.
Yeah, I think one of the most critical things to explain to kids is the after work is
Right.
what gets you where you need to be, because
Right.
everybody has the same baseline.
Right.
And if you want to differentiate yourself from that baseline, you have to do the extracurricular stuff. You got to show up on the weekend. You got to it's just
You gotta take up my lunch period. That's okay.
No, that's during school. That's
I eventually gave in.
In Sonoma, at Sonoma Valley High, Danny Ashwan, who's the ag teacher there, who does ag mechanics. So kind of a different sector, but yet within the same realm or world of building, welding, making, joining, manufacturing things. Was looking at doing other professional development, certificates for students, training them so they can develop more hands-on projects and maybe potentially sell at the county fair, and things like that, and that would help with their ag farm, but it would help the students in the long run. Veronica worked alongside them in their CT advisory, as well as attending various meetings that she gave us feedback for. The other side of it is she also worked with him to help develop relationships and articulations agreements, not just at Santa Rosa JC that technically is in their district boundaries, I should say.
Yeah.
But with Napa Valley College, because they're honestly right there too. I mean, technically probably just as close, if not closer than Santa Rosa.
Physically,
but
right,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, but they're technically another county, so they're not really theirs. But they were willing to work with them and do that, and so that gives students options. And I wish more community colleges would just allow, if you have programs, we'll just say with manufacturing, and you have, 113 of the 115 community colleges in California have this. Why does schools couldn't just make an agreement with you so that the students are now a choice of where they want to go,
Right,
and where they want to take those credits?
They're empowered to take where they want to.
Maybe
right?
a student really wants to move to Southern California, live with an uncle for their college years, but now nothing they took up here counts because they don't accept it. And they got to take it over, which is ridiculous to make a student take something over. So I kind of wish that would happen. But that's a dream goal.
Maybe it
End
will.
goal, maybe. More money and I'll make that happen too.
Okay. Well, good. So those are some great thoughts.
Thank you.